Hi, this is Owen Casas. I'm the administrator for the town of South Thomaston, Maine. I know you all are expecting a live stream YouTube of the recent select board meeting to talk about the town's response to coronavirus. We did not have the live stream capabilities ready at that time, so we recorded the entire meeting. And then when I went to post it, because I'm awesome with technology, I somehow deleted it. My sincere apologies to everyone in the town for that error on my part. I did take meeting minute notes, and so I just want to go over those briefly with you all. And I'm happy to get calls here at the town office, 596-6584, or please feel free to send me an email to Owen, O-W-E-N, at souththomaston.me. So the meeting was called to order by Chairman Wrights at noon. The first thing that he asked for was an update from Betty Thomas, who's our emergency management director, and Mo Doobie, who is our local health officer and code enforcement officer, primarily about the actions that the town is taking in response to coronavirus. So Mo, the local health officer, talked about asking the few eateries that we have here in town, the Maritime Farms on 131, the Gig Store by the town landing, and then Waterman's Beach Brewery, primarily just for their Friday potluck that they have and haven't, it's coming up here briefly, but they're not going to be conducting that this Friday. They are still open for business, but only for takeout. They are not allowing congregations of folks or people to eat in the buildings themselves. The daycares have been asked to suspend their services so that we don't have multiple children who, even though have shown to not have significant mortality rates or higher levels of health issues, if they're exposed to coronavirus, they are still significant carriers of it and can perpetuate it throughout the community. So ask them to temporarily suspend. The churches as well have been asked to not conduct in-person services on Sundays. Following CDC guidelines, we're asking that no meetings of more than 10 people take place throughout town. And that includes what we're doing here in the town office. Let's see. There was a question from the board chair about the town office itself, and even though our current posture is that we have locked the doors, we're not allowing the general public to enter the building, town staff is still coming in to work. And there was a question about the appropriateness of town staff continuing to come in and do their work. We did have some of the staff folks here, myself included, that talked about us being careful about personal hygiene and keeping social distancing and interactions with folks to a minimum. None of us have displayed any sort of signs and symptoms of coronavirus. We do not believe we've come in contact with any carriers of the virus. And so we do feel comfortable continuing to come into work. Again, we are limiting or prohibiting all general public from entering the building itself. We've also asked that folks, if they need to conduct town business, that they limit that to only essential services. Even things like your vehicle registration at this time don't necessarily need to be considered essential. Informally, the Sheriff's Department, I believe state police and local police departments are asking their officers to relax slightly some of their requirements on current vehicle registration. Other items like new vehicle registration or change of titles, please feel free to call here to the town office. We'll give as best guidance as we can. Secretary of State has shut down all Department of Motor Vehicle offices, so we understand that this is an inconvenience for folks, but we believe that our law enforcement partners are being mindful and thoughtful of the fact that we're all kind of dealing with a new situation here, and that many town offices have closed up completely or significantly limiting what it is that they do. We have been working very hard at getting our online vehicle and boat registration up. It's called Rapid Renewal. We are very close to having that on the municipal website, which is www.south Thomaston, all spelt out, no hyphens, no dots or anything, www.souththomaston.me. As soon as we get that capability online, we'll put an announcement and a link to that on the municipal website. So you should be able to accomplish the bulk of your vehicle needs online and not actually have to come into the town office at all. So town staff, until something changes with us, we believe we were exposed or came in contact with someone or displaying signs and symptoms, town staff will continue to be in. I can field emails and we can field calls and try to give as good of information as we have to the public on how to accomplish some of these things. We can still process quite a few items electronically. We can accept credit card payments over the phone for things such as property taxes, delinquent property taxes, stump dump vouchers. As it relates to our stump dump, currently it is still open on Wednesdays and Saturdays. We are asking that folks be mindful of the attendant, that you take care of your own waste and debris, and that you try to keep a good healthy distance away from the attendant himself. But currently that is still operating. Our municipal library is shut down until something changes and we get additional guidance from CDC that the spread of the virus has been contained enough to where we feel comfortable. But at this time, the library is shut down and the access to the general public to the municipal office is prohibited. We got an update from the town fire chief, Brian Calderwood, about both the fire department and emergency medical services. We have an ambulance department here in town. Obviously, fire department and emergency medical services are continuing to operate. If your house is on fire, clearly call the fire department. If you're having a medical health emergency, clearly call 911 and request services. We do ask, just commonsensical, that you be mindful and try not to call out unnecessarily, because that does expose our firefighters and our first responders to some potential carriers of the virus, and so we just ask you to be mindful of that. Those two services have implemented some additional safeguards, not allowing additional training at this time that's not necessary, additional cleanliness and hygiene for our first responders. If drivers of the vehicle don't need to get out of the vehicle, they won't, et cetera, et cetera. So, these are medical personnel, so they clearly are taking this as seriously as they can and making sure that they're utilizing current best practices on not spreading this virus around. One item that came up was that we're definitely postponing town meeting and some public hearings that we had on the land use ordinances and some other ordinances we were going to propose at town meeting. In that same vein, typically a town meeting is the election of municipal officers and school board members, and then the select board does their reappointments at the meeting following. We reviewed Maine Municipal Association's legal guidance on appointment of officers and town meetings and elections and things of that nature. So there was an official motion done by Member Gaudio and seconded by Member Waterman to reappoint or carry over all appointees until the first select board meeting following town meeting, leaving any sort of month when that might occur out of the motion. So it carries on until we have town meeting, and at the first select board meeting after that, they would do reappointments. We'll be contacting all the appointees to ensure that they want to continue on those duties longer than maybe their term had originally specified. All motions were done by the yeas and the nays, primarily because I thought I was recording it to be put on the internet, and so we didn't do just hand votes, we did the yeas and the nays as well. There was a motion by Member Gaudio and seconded by Member Waterman to cancel the public hearings that we had scheduled for March 19th and to postpone and cancel currently the March 31st town meeting. We chose not to cancel the scheduled March 24th select board meeting, primarily because if something occurred or we had new guidance or decisions needed to be made between now and then, we wanted to leave that meeting date open and noticed if we needed to accomplish any business at that time. We will have our technology better figured out at that time. Hopefully and highly likely that it would actually be a little bit more interactive to where folks could pose questions electronically and the select board could respond to those or provide some additional guidance. We talked about the town reports that are at the printers right now. We're still going to be meeting our timelines to get those out as though we were having town meeting on the 31st, even though that's being postponed. Oh, and as an aside, the public hearings and the town meeting have been postponed. We did not set new dates for those at this time because we want to continue to receive guidance on the spread of the virus, the containment therein. And so we didn't feel comfortable setting a new date at this time until we got additional information and saw how the general containment state and nationwide is going, and we would respond at that time. It works now, yep. If you could hold off, I think I'm going to be 5 more minutes. Does that work? Thank you. We talked about trying to be a little bit more robust in our communications with the general public on things that we're doing. There is a Facebook page that is specific to South Thomaston residents. It is not an official town Facebook page. It's more of a forum. It was put together by a South Thomaston resident. We'll be communicating with that resident about utilizing that platform to push information out of. What is likely going to happen is that they would post links to official town communication. So again, that Facebook page is not the town's Facebook page, but if you follow a link and it brings you to, I'm good, thank you. And it brings you to an official town page, those are official communications from us, but the Facebook page itself is not. But it is a great platform for us to try to continue to push information out there for folks. We talked about the school district and the efforts that they are taking, not only to have continued learning for the students, but also food needs for those students. And it does not appear as though the town needs to do much in this regard because the school district is doing a really good response in making sure that they are touching base with all the students' parents. They have surveys about food deliveries. I believe they're also trying to be pretty conscious of dropping off food and having those individuals pick it up slightly separately, again, to try to limit direct contact from person to person. We'll be touching base with some folks in town that we know are associated with the food pantries, see if there's something that the town can't do to assist in that. Likely will be acting more in the role of facilitator than actually purchasing food items and getting them to folks. We have certain email lists and access to folks that other organizations don't. And so as appropriate and not violating anyone's privacy, we will try to utilize some of our capabilities so that we can act as a connector between good service organizations that are trying to connect with folks to make sure that their health and well-being is taken care of, they have the proper food that they need, and making sure that those connections are made properly. We'll also be trying to be better about pushing out information not only on our municipal website. We understand not everyone goes to that. Please, again, we try to be as diligent as we can about updates and getting good information out there. But we'll also trying to be push things out onto Village Soup and Penn Bay Pilot so that if that is your kind of standard default mode to receive local news, that's an area that you can look for things related to South Thomaston on. So the only 2 motions that were made, again, was to carry over appointees, including our school board representative that was slated to be, no one took out papers. Actually, no one took out papers for anything. There was a select board seat and a school board seat up. No one took out papers, which means nominations have ceased, and there will be no nominations at town meeting. However, folks, it's an open town meeting. Folks can speak to other individuals in town that they have confidence and would like to see in these positions, and then we'll have a written ballot that we'll collect up, and that will conduct the election. But again, that'll be at town meeting at a yet to be determined date. So the official motions were to carry over those appointees here within the town and our school board representatives, and to postpone the public hearing on the 19th and the 31st, the public hearing on the 19th of March and the town meeting on the 31st of March. We're continuing to have our select board meeting, or at least hold it in reserve. Thank you all. We understand and appreciate that this is an inconvenience for everyone. A lot of us have young children. A lot of us have older relatives. You might be older yourself. You might be a younger person yourself. Everyone's in a similar boat at this time, and so we really appreciate your understanding of us trying to wade through conducting your business while not being able to have that normal in-person, face-to-face interaction that you've grown accustomed to. Again, until notified or until something changes, town staff will continue to be in this office. Please feel free to call or email us. Stand outside, do hand and arm signals. We will just ask that you be respectful of distance of folks, again, just to try to not perpetuate any transmittal of the virus. And the last thing was, we did talk about Wi-Fi, especially for some of our students here in town that might need to continue doing their educational responsibilities. And if you don't have the internet at your house, we do have Wi-Fi here at the town office and at the town library by the gig store on the town landing. The signal strength sometimes fluctuates depending on the business and the work that we're doing here in the office and your distance away from the office itself. A couple of things, we'll be looking at a booster, a Wi-Fi booster, to try to maybe strengthen that signal so that we can accommodate more users at the same time. We really ask that you be respectful of the fact that this town office not only does town office and administrative business, but we have an active fire department and an active ambulance service. So please do not park in and around our emergency bay, even though it's an open paved area. We have our parking area near the front entrance. It's pretty clear to be able to figure out if you're in the parking area or if you're close to the emergency bay. We strongly ask that you just not put yourself or anyone else in a position of blocking emergency services as they try to exit our emergency bays, and that you just park in the municipal parking lot. And then the same for the library, not as critical because emergency services don't roll out of there. We're not entirely sure the signal strength at the landing parking area itself, but at least by the library parking, the signal strength is relatively good. And where the library is shut down, we should likely have minimal users within the building itself. So hopefully the signal strength in the parking area is good. Again, thank you all very much. We appreciate it. We appreciate your understanding and working with us at this time while keeping general social distancing and general hygiene practices. Make sure to check up on your friends and neighbors, our elderly folks that you might, luckily the weather's turning a little bit. It's not as cold. So folks that might be running low on fuel or things of that nature aren't as big of a concern. But check up on folks. We don't have a police department here. You can call the sheriff's department. They've been great at communication. But please feel free to give a call or email us with any questions, thoughts, concerns, things that you might